If you die without a will, the government decides who gets everything you own. Ever wonder how that actually works? And whether your own family is even protected? Today, I'll explain intestate succession like you're 5 years old. By the end, you'll know exactly what the law does with your stuff, who gets cut out, and the one thing that fixes all of it. Quick note, this is legal education, not legal advice. Laws vary by state, so check your local rules or talk to an estate attorney in your area. Here's the scene. Your uncle passes away. No drama, no warning, just gone one Tuesday. He was a simple guy who rented a small house and drove a used truck, had a savings account with about $12,000 in it, and a dog named Carl. He always said his girlfriend Maria should get everything. He meant it, but he just never wrote any of it down. Now Maria is sitting at the kitchen table, his kitchen table, and someone is explaining to her that she gets nothing. Nothing at all, because they were never married, and under the law, she doesn't exist as a legal heir. That $12,000 is going to his brother, the brother he hadn't spoken to in 9 years. Carl the dog is apparently going along with the inheritance. And Maria? She has to move out of a home she helped build a life in, with no legal standing to even contest it. That's not hypothetical. That happens every single day in this country. So what exactly is the law doing here, and why does it work this way? When you die without a will, the law calls it dying intestate. Fancy word, simple meaning. It just means you left no instructions behind. And when you leave no instructions, the government steps in with a default plan. That plan has a name, intestate succession. And think of it like a pre-built shopping list. You never asked for this list, you never approved it, but now it's the list and nobody's changing it. Here's how the list works. The law looks for your closest legal relatives in order. First in line, your spouse and your kids. If you have a spouse and children together, most states split the estate between them. But here's the first thing that surprises people. It's not always 50-50. Some states give your spouse a third. Your kids split the rest. That might mean your spouse has to share your home with your adult children, the one they live in. And if the kids are from a previous relationship, it gets complicated fast. In some cases, a surviving spouse has been forced to sell the family home simply to pay out the children's inherited share. But what if you're not married and don't have kids? Now the list moves to your parents. If your parents are gone, it goes to your siblings. No siblings? Grandparents. No grandparents? Cousins, aunts, uncles. The state starts reaching. If they genuinely cannot find one living relative, everything you owned goes directly to the state government. It's called escheat, and yes, it's a real word. It also sounds exactly like what it is. Here's where it gets counterintuitive. The people you actually want to receive your stuff, your long-term girlfriend, your best friend, your neighbor who checked on you every day for 20 years, they get nothing. Not because the law is punishing you, but because they're not on the list. The list only recognizes legal relationships. Marriage, blood, adoption. That's it. Friendship doesn't count. 10 years together without a marriage license? Doesn't count. You raised someone's kid but never legally adopted them? Doesn't count. The law doesn't care about love, it cares about paperwork. Think about what that actually means for the millions of people living in non-traditional arrangements. Couples who chose not to marry for personal, financial, or religious reasons. Blended families, where bonds formed through years of daily life never got formalized in a courtroom. Close friends who became chosen family after biological ties dissolved. The law sees none of that. It looks at a legal document, finds no qualifying relationship, and moves on without hesitation. There is no appeals process for love. The intestate system was built on assumptions about how families work, assumptions that do not reflect how millions of Americans actually live today. Maria was with your uncle for 6 years. She cooked in that kitchen every night. She drove him to his doctor appointments. She knew his passwords, his coffee order, and which side of the bed was his. Under the law, she's a stranger, a legal stranger. The brother who showed up to one Christmas in 2014 outranks her entirely. Completely legal, completely heartbreaking, completely preventable. Now here's something most people get wrong. Most people assume that if you die without a will, your family sorts it out around the dinner table. Maybe an awkward conversation, but eventually everyone agrees on what's fair, right? Wrong. Because without a will, there's no executor, the person legally in charge of handling your stuff. So the court has to appoint one. A judge picks someone, and that someone has to go through a process called probate. Here's the problem. Probate is slow. It can take months, sometimes years. Studies have shown the average probate case takes anywhere from 9 months to 2 years to fully resolve. It is expensive. Legal fees, court fees, filing fees, and those costs routinely eat up 5 to 10% of the total estate. It is public, meaning anyone can look up exactly what you owned and who got it. And it is absolutely exhausting for the people you left behind. They're already grieving. Now they're filling out court paperwork. The emotional toll of navigating a bureaucratic legal process while simultaneously mourning someone you loved simply cannot be overstated. Your silence didn't protect them. It handed them a part-time job during the worst year of their life. There's also something that catches people completely off guard. Let's say you had a falling out with a family member years ago, a sibling, a parent, someone you haven't spoken to in a decade. Under intestate succession, that estrangement means nothing legally. They still inherit. The law has no memory of the argument. It sees a legal relative and puts them on the list. The person you cut out, they're back in, with a court order. This outcome has torn apart families who were otherwise managing their grief together, turning probate into an unexpected and deeply painful reunion. And here's the part most people never consider. The law isn't broken. It's just indifferent. It wasn't designed around your specific life. It was designed around a generic life. The one where you're married, you have kids with that same person, and everyone gets along. If your life looks different from that, the formula was never built for you, and it will absolutely enforce itself anyway. So where does that leave Maria? She has 2 options, and neither is easy. She can challenge the distribution in court, which requires proving something specific went wrong legally, and she'd likely lose anyway. Or she can negotiate privately with the brother, hoping he honors what he knows your uncle wanted. Hoping is the only strategy. That's what no will leaves her with. Here's the good news. All of this, every single bit of it, is entirely preventable. A basic will can be drafted for a few $100s. In some states, a handwritten will signed by you is legally valid. Some states allow online wills through services that cost less than a streaming subscription. You don't need to be rich. You don't need a fancy lawyer. You just need to write down what you want and sign it. That's the whole superpower. And yet, studies consistently show that more than half of American adults have no will at all. Most people simply never get around to it. And for things like retirement accounts and life insurance, those don't even go through your will. They go directly to whoever you named as the beneficiary. Which means, even if you never write a will, you should check those beneficiary designations today. A lot of people forget they named an ex-spouse 20 years ago. The law doesn't forget, it just pays them. That one overlooked form can override everything else, including a will you did write. Here's what to take away from all of this. Dying without a will means the government uses its own formula, not yours. That formula has no idea your girlfriend existed. It doesn't know you stopped talking to your brother. It doesn't know you wanted your best friend to have the truck. Probate then makes the whole thing slower, more expensive, and more painful for everyone you leave behind. And the fix is genuinely simple. A document, a signature, 30 minutes of your life. The government didn't show up to steal from your family, but you did leave the door open. And the law walked right in. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If you died tonight, would the government's list match yours? Because for most people, it doesn't even come close. Drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how many people have actually checked.